Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Last Wrestling Podcast, because if I have a wrestling podcast, everybody else in the world does too, and the concept is officially dead. Here we go. As informed / as warned, it's time for Wrestlemania Cutlass! Because it used to be in a stadium that has a professional sports ball team based on pirates, and therefore, R. Okay, for those of you who have been self-isolating under a rock, WWE has decided to go forward with WrestleMania 36, despite the fact that they are not legally allowed to have a show or an audience. Every match that's going to be happening tonight has been pre-recorded and will be taking place either on site for the Boneyard match and presumably for the Firefly Funhouse match, or took place at the Performance Center earlier, either this past week or the week before, depending on when they could fit everything in. WWE has also been doing some fun false advertising and has decided to pull some things right out of their backside. We're covering this because this is just weird enough that it's going to make me break my rule against talking about WWE. First up is the pre-show. Now, usually I take a pre-shows don't count attitude when it comes to WWE because they've told us for many, many years that the pre-show doesn't count in WWE. Unfortunately, I do have one thing I need to point out here. This was an hour-long pre-show. I skipped all the talky bits because WWE doesn't know how to script sports banter, and they never have. But they did have one wrestling match. Antonio Cesaro versus Drew Gulak. What?! You have got probably the best all-round professional wrestler in the world today, and I mean this guy can do everything, in Cesaro, formerly known as Claudio Castagnoli, and you've got Drew Gulak, one of the best character wrestlers, and one of the best technical wrestlers in the world today. I won't say he's the best in the world in either, but he's very, very good. And all you can think to do is throw them together in the pre-show because they've got partners / stablemates that have a title match against each other later on, presumably that night. Okay. You all know by now I'm a big Chikara fan. And these guys are Chikara staples. Or they were before they went to the, quote, big time, end quote. And the fact that you've got Claudio Castagnoli versus... and you can't think of anything better to do with them than to just throw them at each other in the pre-show is the biggest and most self-damning condemnation of WWE lack of creative that I have ever seen. And I'm including Katie effing Vick in that description. So... for the record, Cesaro picks up the win over Drew Gulak, and nobody gets anything out of it. Moving on now to the main show, we start with the WWE Then, Now, Forever graphic. Not the way you're going, pals. And then we get something that genuinely made me angry, and I had to pause this and walk away for a few minutes. WWE's answer to Rita Repulsa, Stephanie McMahon, stands in a studio and gives an absolutely gaslighting speech about how WWE is being so brave and so noble to bring you your entertainment and just a few moments of diversion in these troubling times. Oh, aren't we such wonderful, wonderful corporate citizens? Screw you, lady. Your daddy is too much of a stubborn old dinosaur who gives exactly 0 fucks about the health and wellness and the well-being and the lives of his employees, who aren't even actually employees, let's never forget, to let them stay home during a fucking pandemic. You ain't essential. We do not need you for diversion and entertainment. We got Netflix for that. And hell, we've even got the WWE Network for that. But your daddy didn't want to postpone WrestleMania until summer, or whenever this is finally over, and have this great big welcome back to normalcy celebration show. He has to put on this, what's I'm sure going to be, and considering the last several weeks of your television, an absolute fustercluck. And you do not get to reframe this as you being the noble heroes. Because you ain't. You're greedy, you're lazy, you're stuck in your head is stuck so far in the sand, you can't even see the light of day. And I'm saying sand because I don't want to picture you with your own head up your ass. Go away! We then get a montage of past performances at WrestleMania of America the Beautiful, and I thought it was actually really well done, well edited together, and they had some good choices of performances. We saw Ray Charles, we saw Aretha Franklin, we saw Little Richard. It was really good. Really got into the history of the show. I actually really liked it. And then we get this weird fourth wall breaking mockery of an epic opening sequence that's clearly designed to be this cross between Pirates of the Caribbean and Clash of the Titans, but it gets constantly interrupted by a posh person saying how much the show sucks already, and we are 5 minutes and 40 seconds into the runtime, and this is going to be about another 3 hours. Okay, I don't mind when WWE occasionally pokes fun at itself. I love Drew McIntyre making fun of the whole "everybody point at the sign" shtick, but this is getting too cute by half, and this is what I was really worried about going into this show. Because this is all pre-taped, they have the ability to edit. They have the ability to post-produce this WrestleMania in a way they've never had the opportunity to before, and I think they're gonna go overboard with it. And again, we're not even we haven't even gotten to the arena yet because pre-shows don't count, and they have already gotten too cute by half with this. But yeah, this is basically WWE would be really good at CinemaSins montage. Maybe they're trying to make fun of themselves before we get a chance to do it. I don't know anymore. This goes on for another 5 minutes before we finally get our first main show look at the WrestleMania set. And I'm going to give them all the credit in the world. They had to pull this out of nothing. There was no way they were going to be able to, build a pirate ship on the stage of the Performance Center. But maybe going a little overboard with the laser lights, aren't we, folks? I mean, it feels like I'm either watching a Spider-Man movie or someone's about to pull the heist of the century. Up next, it's the Gronk. Skip. Our first match is for the Women's Tag Team Championship, and it's going to be the Kabuki Warriors, I still hate that name, against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. And somebody told me on a much more popular YouTube channel that their official tag team name is Bliss Cross Applesauce. I'm going to assume I was being lied to. This is also when we learn that we're going to have to listen to John Bradshaw Layfield on commentary, at least for part of the show. Are they trying to make me turn this off? Before I actually get to the match itself, I'd like to take a moment to discuss the Kabuki Warriors. First of all, that is a silly name. That's like saying the Knights of Thespians, I guess. It's ridiculous. But take a look at this picture. First of all, on the left, you see Kairi Sane with all will to live drained from her eyes. And on the other side, you see Asuka. Now, I have been watching a little bit of WWE just to get ready for this review. And Asuka apparently now has the gimmick that she speaks in Japanese and ha 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 ha, nobody understands her. That is the funny. That is the very funny, Mr. McMahon says. Well, first of all, no, that just makes you look stupid because you don't speak a second language. And two, She's not speaking in particularly complicated Japanese. She's rambling and rushing through it and overdoing a character and being hilariously over the top with it, but she's not speaking particularly difficult Japanese, aside from some of her onomatopoeias are a bit weird, but she's perfectly understandable. I know exactly what she's saying, and she does tend to repeat herself in English. So, I to me, the whole Asuka gimmick right now is ha ha ha, look at the stupid gaijin who don't even speak Japanese. Buckle up, folks. This is going to be painful. I generally don't know how I'm going to be able to analyze this because not having watched a lot of WWE in the last couple of years, I don't know how much of what I just saw is based on the unusual circumstances of the Empty Arena show or how much of it is just WWE being bad at their jobs. But that was a good match that was physically painful at times. Maybe I just didn't notice it back when we had an audience they could cut to, but there were several times where the camera was cutting to different angles so fast that it actually started to make my eyes hurt a little bit. That's probably the biggest negative here. The biggest positive is I laughed my ass off when Alexa Bliss slaps Kairi Sane. By the way, that's how Sane would be pronounced in Japanese. Her name is Kairi Sane in this. Not her fault, everybody mispronounces it. Kairi Sane gets slapped in the face by Alexa Bliss because she dared to call Alexa cute. Evil villain, acknowledging your cute hair decorations. And then, a couple seconds later, Alexa calls Kairi cute in English, which means she probably knows what kawaii means. And yes, it was said in a mocking tone, but you're getting pissed off and slapping a woman because she said something that was completely true. Ugh. Anyway, it was a good match under the circumstances, the best I can tell. Lots of good effort to make noise. I like being able to hear the referee. That's an improvement over a standard show, and I'm very happy that my decades-long ingrained Pavlovian training to ignore the commentary team of Michael Cole and JBL is still well and truly in place. After the first couple of borderline racist jokes, I was able to pretty successfully tune them out. I have no idea what they said. Hopefully that's going to be a pattern going forward. Bliss Cross Applesauce pick up the win and become the new and two-time WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. Good for them. It was a good match. They earned it. I have heard rumors that Kairi Sane is on her way out of WWE, and I deeply regret she didn't get the pirate entrance on the pirate show. That hurts me in my showman's heart. Coming up next, we have an interview segment for the Intercontinental Champion, Sami Zayn. Today on Out of Touch Theater, we're going to recap our story, say absolutely nothing new, and not practice social distancing, despite the fact that two of the characters on the screen right now have absolutely no reason to be there. Seriously, Cesaro and Nakamura said absolutely nothing, contributed nothing, and probably just endangered their health. Fun! This is your diversion! We then get a couple of commercials, including for a kid puts on a magic wrestling mask that makes him a superhero, I think Netflix show that I'm probably going to watch. And we see Shayna Baszler warming up backstage, and this is what you should have done. Solo, social distancing, and it accomplished a whole lot more than that interview did. Up next, apparently, is King Corbin versus Elias, and before we get to this match, I want to take a look at this CGI, altered reality, augmented reality, whatever they're calling it, graphics. Now, I find these to be uncanny valley levels of annoying when they are humans. When you see, Roman Reigns looking really constipated as he screams at the sky. But This actually looks pretty good. The House Stark banners, the crown floating in the sky for some reason. It's obviously CGI, it's obviously unrealistic, but it does kind of add to the character and the persona, since obviously they can't do WrestleMania entrances. This is a tool in the toolbox, but it's a tool I think WWE is going to overuse. And this is something that, as WWE goes, so goes the wrestling business. And I expect to see, as the technology, as the cost of the technology goes down, I expect to see more of this in other companies over the next couple of years. And again, don't overdo it. Now, as for this match, this is everything you should never do in wrestling. Ever. Okay. I remember an interview with Scott Hall a number of years ago where he said, and I completely agree with this, the last thing a wrestler should ever do is threaten to kill their opponent. I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to break your arm. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to end your career. Fine. But never say, I'm going to kill you, because that immediately breaks the magic. Everybody knows you're not actually going to kill somebody on a wrestling show. And that's... Now, granted, that was said before the time of Chikara and Lucha Underground made that at least plausible in certain circumstances. However, this time we're making that mistake backwards! Because we've already had Corbin killing Elias by shoving him off about a 10-foot balcony down to the concrete below. This obviously broke the man's back, paralyzed him at best, and probably killed him. Yes, I know, there was a crash pad, it was edited, blah 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 blah. Let's pretend this isn't fake for a moment. And... you killed a man! This was... Okay, it maybe wasn't premeditated, but I think we're looking certainly at manslaughter, if not murder too. And not only is this character advertised to appear for a wrestling match a couple weeks after getting his spine snapped in half, they're going to settle this with a wrestling match? Now, I realize in WWE, everything up to and including the custody of a small child can be determined in a wrestling match, but this is just badly written. Do the shove angle here. And then we go forward with King Corbin as a criminal and a murderer, and he can drop the King gimmick and become Killer Corbin or something. Oh, I'm going to be doing a lot of this, aren't I? I'm going to be doing, here's how WWE could actually get out of this. I feel dirty. Let's start out with the positives. I think the stars of the night are going to be the WWE referees, because they are contributing more to the storytelling in this environment than they ever have in the last 50 plus years of WWE, WWF, WWF, Capital Sports, whatever. This is great. Seeing this young woman standing up to Baron Corbin, pointing out that no, it was a 2 count, and also conveniently flipping him off British style, which I approve of. It was great. That was fantastic. And then the rest of the match happened. Corbin, who is a Performance Center graduate, has never worked in professional wrestling. He's only worked in sports entertainment. Doesn't know how to play to an empty room. I don't mean to insult indie wrestlers, but sparse crowds are a thing you get used to. So I've been in some of those sparse crowds, but he doesn't know how to play to nobody, so he's still yelling and screaming even though there's nobody there. He's playing primarily to Cole and JBL on the commentary station, and it didn't work. Mostly because I'm not listening to JBL and Michael Cole. And then, stupid happened! Because the end of the match, Elias rolls up Baron Corbin with a pull of the very convenient and utterly unnecessary belt and picks up the win. 1, 2, 3, and that's okay because cheating! It's what good guys do! How much longer? Oh god, I've still got 2 hours of this and it's only night freaking one. Why did I agree to do this? Ugh. Anyway, up next we have a match that I really thought they were going to save for something closer to the main event. It is the man, Becky Lynch, defending the title that she has held for a full year against Shayna Baszler. This is the one that had a build that included a completely superfluous, very large polluting truck, vampirism, and the good guy acting like a cocky prick the whole time. So, unless they're telling a story that Becky is going to lose her title and realize that her hubris got the better of her and have to go through a character. Starting out with the positives, right at the start, these two women pummel each other with punches, and it sounds fantastic. This is actually a benefit of the empty arena situation, the coronavirus situation, because we can actually hear all of these things, and after a few weeks of a whole lot of meh, these wrestlers are finally figuring out how to take advantage of the situation, how to tell a story in sounds that normally cannot be heard. And I absolutely loved the start of this. Fast forwarding, because I'm doing kind of a compliment sandwich here, fast forwarding to the end of the match, we get what has become a standard storytelling structure for these kind of matches, wrestler versus wrestler versus cage fighter. Did you know she's a cage fighter? We're going to tell you 150 times. And that is take advantage of the difference in the rules. Obviously, in MMA, there are no pinfalls, and there are no rope breaks, there's none of that. So it's logical that an MMA fighter, no matter how tough they are, would not be prepared, would not be trained, at least not to the level of the professional wrestler, for those kind of differences, for those pro wrestling specific rules. And that's what happened here. Baszler caught in the rear naked choke, Kirifuda clutch, and she's able to roll it through into a pinning combination, and and because she never taps out, that supersedes the submission hold, and she picks up the victory in a way that could never happen in the octagon. And that's smart. It's also smart not to change the title for Becky Lynch here. She's not going to go through that redemption story that I talked about, and hopefully this isn't going to go to her head, but this is not the time, not the place, nor is it the match on the card to do a title change. And that brings me back to that stupid Stephanie McMahon speech earlier. This is the first match on this show so far that legitimately made me sad. Because this is a match, this is a feud, this is a build even with the vampirism that deserved an audience. And I just felt bad for everybody involved that it was reduced to this. Up next, we got something that I genuinely never thought we would see, and that is a promo for an Undertaker behind-the-scenes documentary where he speaks out of character, where we see Mark Calloway. I don't know if I want to watch this, but I almost certainly will. Up next, for the Intercontinental Championship, Sami Zayn defends against Daniel Bryan. We also get our second look at our host, the Gronk, now joined by Mojo Rawley, and I Still Don't Care, doing the yes chant. And I haven't had a chance to talk about this new Intercontinental Championship belt. Did they get rid of the white strap because it's somewhat associated with Cody Rhodes? Maybe. I don't know. As for this, I like it. It's certainly not the worst design in WWE history. It's not the worst design in WWE today. It's not the worst Intercontinental Championship design of all time. But it's not that great. I mean, yes, it's predominantly gold. That's good. I'm a sucker for the black strap. I think that makes it look better. The white strap for the old, this would not work on a white strap. Let's just put it that way. But again, it's very two-tone. It needs something to break it up. Maybe some blue in the globes. Maybe the even the red line in the WWE logo would work. But it right now it looks kind of two-dimensional. I'm sure it'll grow on me. It's a good design. It's a good idea, and I'm sure they do the custom side plates. But it's it's okay. It's fine. It's not great. It's not bad. It's just there. Kind of like the WWE. That was absolutely brilliant. 5 professional wrestlers who know how to tell a story, being given the time to do so, know how to take advantage of the tools they now have in their toolbox in this empty arena setting. They weren't playing to the crowd that isn't there. They were having their story. They were telling their story in the ring, taking advantage of the fact that we could hear what they were saying, and it was great. Sami Zayn, a guy who made his name as a mute, is one of the best talkers in the world in professional wrestling, and he managed to tell a story of the whiny crybaby chicken-ass heel who finally got his comeuppance for most of the match. Most of this was Daniel Bryan, giving Sami Zayn what he deserves. And then, as you can see here, this beautiful counter. I'm not quite sure it's Shawn Michaels, Sheldon Benjamin, but Bryan comes off the top rope right into the haluva kick. 1, 2, 3. Sami Zayn retains the Intercontinental Championship, and I'm not entirely sure the rest of the Artist Collective, I think they're called, can quite believe it. No notes, no criticism. This was a fantastic match. And I say that because I'm saving up all of my notes and all of my criticism for this. Okay, as I understand this, and this is all from rumors and YouTube channels, so take it with a grain of salt, The Miz showed up to one of the tapings sick. Cough, fever perhaps, I'm not entirely sure. Certainly a cough, because we could hear it in his promos on the Go Home SmackDown. But he was sent home from the tapings, so what was planned to be a 3-way tag team ladder match for the SmackDown second place trophy was changed, or wasn't going to be able to go ahead as advertised. One of 2 cases of false advertising on this show. We will get to the other one later, I think. And, okay, fine. You know what the solution is? Don't do the match. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Cut it. Give more time to something else, or make the show shorter. We've already made it very clear that we can take a 7-hour WrestleMania and drop it down to about 3. So, do that, only more. But no, we've decided that we're going to piss on the concept of tag team wrestling in its entirety, because now this is a 3-way singles ladder match. Yes, one member of the New Day, one of the Usos, and John Morrison in a singles triple threat match for the tag team titles. This is fucking stupid. Okay, if you have to go ahead with the match, guess what? Morrison, you're now officially in a handicap situation. Congratulations, you're the underdog. Go be a babyface, I guess, kinda. Ugh. Just don't do this match. I'm going to be saying this a lot tonight, but credit to the wrestlers for making chicken salad out of this garbage that they've been forced to work with. Credit where due, WWE did make it clear in the announcement that you have to pull down both belts in order to win the match. And that gets us away from the silly cliche that I thought they were going to do, where, 2 teams each take 1 belt and therefore the titles are held up and we have a rematch at the next show. But, okay, this was let me introduce you to my new best friend, the skip forward 10-second button. Because so much of this match was so much better once I realized that I could push a button and skip all of the parts where they're building up to the next spot. I'm going to do that in ladder matches from now on. Some stupid-looking bumps, crazy spots, didn't need to happen. This match should not have happened. This was dumb. And I don't think having 3 more people would have made it any less dumb as far as the risk factor and the danger factor, but it would have actually at least been a tag team match. And the best, in very large air quotes, part is that the fact that the tag team titles use Velcro was the deciding factor in the match. Okay, this picture you've got on the screen right now, this is the end spot where everybody's up at the top, they're all grabbing for the thing, and it was the Uso who takes the thing off of the hook. But that's not the win condition. You have to take the belts off and get down to the... You have to take the belts off, and I think you have to touch the mat. I'm not sure, but you have to get possession of the championships themselves. You have to take the belt off of the bar. So, Morrison, right before he gets headbutted off of the ladder, grabs the Velcro of the strap and pulls both belts down with him when he falls to win the titles in a fluke. An admittedly creative ending, but a dumb ending to a dumb match that shouldn't have happened because it was fucking stupid. And we have finally reached the worthy of having a match graphic portion of our program, as Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens fight over blasphemy or Rollins being a prick in training or pride of the performance center. Or I have no idea why these guys are fighting. Oh my god, he actually is CrossFit Jesus. I still don't really care why they're fighting, and I know that at least one of the 5 or 6 reasons we were given is a lie. Okay, so apparently Owens is offended by the Messiah gimmick, and Rollins is offended because Owens is fat. Owens is offended because Seth is a general all-purpose prick, and Seth is offended because Owens doesn't give him enough credit for founding the Performance Center, even though he didn't do that, and Owens says that Rollins was a complete prick to work with when he was in developmental, and everybody seems to be agreeing with that. And then Rollins is angry that... Rollins is pointing out that Owens has never won a match at WrestleMania, except teeny tiny, itsy witsy, teensy beansy little problem. Yes, he bloody did! Okay, you don't want to talk about Chris Jericho. He's with another company now. He's your biggest competition. I get that. I respect that. But it's still a lie. Owens beat Jericho for the United States Championship at WrestleMania 33. You don't get to pretend that never happened. Here's how you do it better. Last year, Kevin Owens was not on WrestleMania. He was not on the main show. He was not on the pre-show. He wasn't even in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Tell that story. You know, have Rollins say, yeah, Owens, Kevin, who are you? Last year, you weren't even on WrestleMania, and you think you're good enough to face your God? Or something like that. That would have been the exact same story beat. It would have been exactly as dumb, but it would have been true. It would have made sense within the narrative. And we haven't even gotten to the freaking match yet, because this is when the stupid really starts piling up on top of itself. Okay, Seth starts out doing the cowardly heel shtick. They fight. Eventually, Seth Rollins realizes he can't actually beat Kevin Owens, so he smacks him in the face with a ring bell. Kevin Owens wins because Rollins just wasn't good enough. Story told. End of segment. What's now? Of course, you've already seen the show. You know what happened. They decided that WWE 50-50 booking is such a good idea, they're going to do it over the course of one goddamn show. Owens gets on the mic and demands a restart of the match under no disqualification rules. And Rollins agrees to this because he's stupid and the script says he's supposed to be stupid now. And this is because we had to set up a really big spot where Owens climbs to the top of a Wrestlemania sign and jumps off of it through a table to break everybody's fall. And oh my god, who booked this crap? Stone Cold Stunner, 1, 2, 3, nobody wins! Because it's now officially Rollins won, Owens won, nothing was settled! You paid money for the show where nothing was settled. God. Oh. And then more stupid happened because Gronk and R-Truth was there. And because we just have to beat a black guy on the show, Mojo Rawley is the 24/7 champion. Oh, God. And then Paul Heyman does some sexual harassment and cuts a promo where he barely stops short of calling Brock Lesnar the Aryan Ubermensch. I want to go home. And I'm sitting at home talking about this. At least the next match is going to be quick by definition. Okay, I don't like stealing lines from more popular YouTube channels, but shout out to Wrestle Talk. I will never ever refer to this belt as anything other than the Blueniversal Championship. I love that. I'm stealing it. Thank you very much. Support Wrestle Talk. They gave me the gag. They don't know they gave me the gag, but they gave me the gag. Yes, it's time for our false advertising match. Okay, up until a few days ago, actually, this was advertised as Roman Reigns versus Goldberg for Goldberg's Blueniversal title. Well, here's the problem. Roman Reigns is a cancer survivor and as a result has a compromised immune system because chemotherapy and radiation therapy, I should say, while they can save lives from cancer, they fuck your immune system all the way up. And so Roman is not getting anywhere near the Performance Center while COVID-19 is a thing. So I completely understand that. He is 100% correct to pull out of this match, pull off of this show. And if you think otherwise, if you think he should have gutted it out and taken the risk and done it for the team, you are an asshole. Okay. But back to the bad storytelling. They had a couple of weeks. They had a couple of weeks notice. Now, a lot of the shows were already in the can leading up to this, so they would have had to do something. They would have had to make an announcement, do some editing, something to get out of this. Have it be, tell the truth, or do a thing where Roman realizes he was kind of a jackass, walking out and saying, "I get a title shot because I want to one." Something, but nothing. They false advertised the match for a week and a half. And then said, oh, by the way, it's now Braun Strowman. Because, okay, I get it. Tough times. WrestleMania's got to be stressful as hell. You couldn't come up with something? You couldn't couldn't get Triple H in front of a camera to cut a promo explaining the situation? You couldn't have gotten Braun Strowman and somebody else in to a quick, they couldn't have got them into a quick match now that I think about it, but you couldn't have gotten Triple H in front of a camera to say, by the way, here's what's happening. Roman's out due to his superior performance over the course of this last year. WWE officials have announced that Braun Strowman will be getting the Universal title opportunity due to his dominant performance. Montage. Something, anything. You've got no goodwill with your audience. Earn some. Well, this should at least be quick. It was quick. Somebody entered the infinite finisher cheat code, and I think it was 4 spears, 4 power slams, 2 minutes and 11 seconds roughly. New champion, next match please. And now, in what I think is going to be our main event of the evening, or it better bloody well be, The Undertaker, AJ Styles, in a Boneyard match. What the hell is a Boneyard match? Still have no idea. This has been an absolutely terrible build for what is probably going to be the Too Cute by Half match of the evening that I talked about earlier, where they're going to take the fact that this is pre-taped, off-site, etc., and they're going to use this to fulfill Vince McMahon's boyhood dream of making movies. And I think that can work if done well. I have no idea if this is going to be done well, but when the only real surprise and the only real interesting thing in this match is if we're going to get the Dead Man or the American Badass, well, I'm going to try to go into this one with an open mind, because hopefully they can make this work. Taker and The Undertaker, respect. The Undertaker and AJ Styles are two of the best of their generations, and I think if anyone can pull this out of the fires of hell, then I think these two can, once the scriptwriters get the heck out of the way and these two professional wrestlers get to tell their story and ply their craft. Whoa. Was that worth the price of admission? Was that worth sitting through 2.5+ hours of mostly absolute garbage? Yeah, I think it was. Honestly, I'm not going to try to recap this. Go find a way to watch it. The Boneyard match, turns out it is buried alive. We got mostly the American Badass, but we got a little bit of the Dead Man as well. At this point, I'm done predicting when The Undertaker will eventually retire. Probably see him next year at WrestleMania. AJ Styles got almost nothing. What little offense he got, he wound up hurting himself. Apparently breaking his finger punching The Undertaker. This was a fight scene. This was not a wrestling match. This was a fight scene. And frankly, I would put this at a slightly below average episode of Kamen Rider. This was not good. These are not stuntmen. These are not guys that are used to doing tokusatsu fight scenes. And I'm making the Kamen Rider and even Power Ranger connection because we had putty patrollers! Undertaker beat up a bunch of his own druids! Who the hell were those guys? I mean, they were clearly working for the club, for the I Can't Believe It's Not Bullet Club, but they were dressed as the Undertaker's druids. What? Who? Where? What? Okay, fine. We got the putty patroller scene. You beat up all the mooks, conservation of ninjutsu, etc. And, actually, I really did like this. I liked Undertaker teleporting out of the grave, appearing behind AJ Styles. I liked Undertaker channeling his brother's powers by lifting his arms to raise the fire. I even liked the silly little laser light projection mapping at the end as the Undertaker rode off. Like a Kamen Rider. I liked the fact that they weren't even trying to pretend that this was live. That we had musical cues, and actually pretty good musical cues at that. The lighting was decent. There were the few wrestling moves that we actually got were done well. But AJ Styles is dead now. So's the rest of the club, for that matter, so if we ever see them again, we need a damn good explanation. But this was a great way to end the show, and I imagine they're going to try to pull the same thing with the Firefly Funhouse tomorrow, and tomorrow's going to be a fun night, isn't it? Final thoughts. This was not a good show. This was not a WrestleMania. This was not a show that needed to happen. It had its bright spots. Daniel Bryan and Zayn, the pre-show match, it shouldn't have been on the pre-show. The the Boneyard match was a whole lot better than I was expecting it to be, and it really raised my hopes for the Firefly Funhouse match tomorrow. But the rest of the show was just kind of sad. And for a show that literally is now advertising itself as your fun distraction during these troubling times, all I could think of was how much better would this have been if it had been in front of an audience? I mean, zero disrespect to any of the professional wrestlers, any of the artists, performers, athletes, etc., and they are all of those things, who did their best and really did make the best of a bad situation here. There were some positives here. The referees becoming actual characters instead of NPCs. The fact that we could hear what was being said, and there were wrestlers smart enough to take advantage of the fact that we could actually hear what they're saying now and use that to tell the story. But the albatross around the neck of every single match was that this was terribly, terribly written. This was badly booked. This was badly executed for the most part, except for the actual in-ring stuff. And if I never see the Gronk again, it'll be too soon. But, I don't even know at this point if I can give this show a grade, so right now, I'm not going to. We will see what happens if I feel I can give this a fair letter grade tomorrow, because at this point, I'm not even sure how much of this is this show specifically, how much of this is the prevailing circumstances, and how much of this is the fact that WWE just doesn't know how to put on a good wrestling show. I'll see you tomorrow. Wish me luck.